Well, good morning. Good morning. So, Dave, when you're sailing from Annapolis, Maryland, are you still here, Dave Fitzgerald? So when you're sailing from Annapolis, Maryland to Bermuda, as I did 2 weeks ago, and the storms come, one thing you don't want to be is in that boat in the condition that it is. You do want to drop some type of a storm jib on and reef the main and button the hatches and try to survive. Now, the future of customer relationships. You know, I'm in the business 27 years. It can be overwhelming, the technology that's being thrown at you. Some will stick, some will not. The question you have to ask yourself is, in that storm, you find your own calm and understand the value and the importance of customer relationships. You look at the business processes that allow you to do good customer relationships. You look at whether your people are willing to buy into the processes that drive good customer relationships, and only then would you enter the sea and ask yourself, what type of technology would I use? That would be my humble observation. So what I want to talk about, and it's a big topic, it's wide, is the future customer relationship, but I'll try to zero it down to a few specific things that I think are important, and Gerhard alluded to it. Social media plays a fairly important role that translates into social CRM. 27 years in the business, been doing this in terms of advising large corporations, medium-sized corporations on CRM, social CRM, and social media initiatives. Author of 3 books, and if you want to learn more, we have a booth outside. It's the final booth on the right-hand side. That tells you what we do. We come in, we assess what companies do. So we've seen literally dozens and dozens of companies and how they've implemented their processes and their technology and their people programs. We look and strategize what you should do and then help you implement it. We did get into building social media communities several years ago, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples from either ExxonMobil or Kraft or some of our customers. And then I guess at the end of the day, with 27 years of knowledge, this is not a technology game. There are lots of good technologies on the floor. Every one of them will work. The question really is, how do you measure the impact of that technology and the adoption level of that technology? And I'd like to talk a little bit about that today. We do this for many well-known corporations. Why is this important? Because they typically spend the money and lead the way in using both process and technology effectively. And again, I'll share some stories from some of our customers. So, social media, let's start out with a general definition. Everybody's on the same plate. This is the ability to use online communities to communicate with one another, to get information, to share opinions, to do ratings directly from one another rather than from the organization. So this is no longer, I'll tell you, about our products and services or how you should do business with us. It's, you'll tell me and I'll tell you, and we'll try to figure out whether you like us enough to do business. Top of the charts in terms of the area that people want to spend money is in social media. It's the #1 marketing channel. Why? Very simply, there's a few public social media sites that have taken off and are doing very well. We all know them. They're very public. 800 million users on Facebook that are pumping out 1.5 billion posts per day. 200 million folks on Twitter pumping out 200 million tweets a day. 3 billion Google videos being watched on a daily basis. This is big and it's powerful and there's lots of it. But the question really is, so what? So what? If it's not valuable to me as a sales individual or as a marketing individual, as an executive of a corporation, I don't care about all this stuff out there. How do I make sense of all of this? How do I bring this together in a meaningful manner that I can then use it in my sales process or in my customer service, etc.? So let me share with you a framework that we've been using for the last 4 or 5 years with some of our big customers. And it'll paint the picture of how do you go from this social media insight, as I call it, through your CRM capability where you store customer profile and customer information that allows you to better engage with your customers. And I don't care if you're from the sales side of the house, the marketing side, the customer service, or the executive team. So what I have here, assume for a minute this does work. No, okay. So on the top left-hand corner are the public networks. That's the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters and various private communities that you may work with. On the right-hand side is one that often people don't talk about enough, and I'll turn to this momentarily, but that's the private communities that the best companies in the world create to control the content and the dialogue with your customers rather than in the public. But both work. They're both different types of communities. And what is now available are the listening tools. That kind of sits in the middle, that listen and filter information based on either keywords or a variety of different criteria that you would use. We're going to listen to what people say about our company or about a particular topic that you ultimately want to sell into or market into. But the tools today exist to listen carefully. So an example would be Radian 6. Some of you may have heard of that. That's a good listening tool, one of 200 for that matter, that do a good job at keyword filtering information. The next step in the framework is to now take that information and send it down to your CRM system. Why? Well, because your CRM system should house the profile of a particular prospect or customer. So this is one for AAA, one of our customers, and it lists, you can kind of go, if you think of this as a daisy, the customer's in the core or the center of the daisy. The petals are information about that customer. And what a good CRM system does, what every CRM system worth its beans does, is it sets up a profile for every customer that's holistic or comprehensive. The problem today is most of the profiles do not contain the social insight. They contain transactional information. Now, transaction information is good, what they did and what they said they'd do and so forth, and that's very important in a relationship. But so too is what that customer said about you as a company, what they liked or what they didn't like. And the way to get to the hearts of the decision makers is not just on transactional, but it's mixing transactional with emotional or sentimental. And that's what the new social media allows us to do, is we drive down through the listening devices. So we listen in the middle, we drive it down into our CRM system. So now all of a sudden our profile is no longer static or transactional, it's dynamic and has that emotional capability. And that's pretty darn critical when approaching in a sales call and a marketing call, or for that matter, taking the next step, which is a customer engagement. So if we've listened carefully to public and private communities through the listening tools, we've filtered the information, we've sent it down via APIs into our CRM system, we're now ready to action that information inside type of a customer engagement. And for that, I'd like to share 2 customer engagements with you this morning. So we have been testing CRM software since 1989 in our laboratory in Bethesda, Maryland. We have no relationships with any vendor. I don't care whether they like us or don't like us. Most of them do. That we're a well-respected company. But I chose one, not because it's any better than anybody else. And I see a second example. So I don't want to put any bias in this, but this one is Salesforce.com that bought Radian 6, which is the listening device, about a year ago, and have done a pretty respectable job of integrating the two. So let's run the framework through this particular example and take a customer engagement. So this is the Radian 6 dashboard user interface. On the bottom right-hand side, this is TD Bank that is monitoring tweets on Twitter about TD Bank. So from my console in Radian 6, I now click a button and I'm into what is the workflow stack where I can prioritize the tweets as to importance that I perceive what that individual or what those people are saying about my particular company or product. I'm still in Radian 6. I'm clicking a button now from within Radian 6 and I'm saying take a particular tweet that causes me some concern and make a customer service case out of this. Set up a customer service case. So I click another button. I've just created that in Salesforce.com. We're now inside Salesforce.com. It tells us we have a particular tweet. TD Bank is the worst bank in the United States and so forth, from which I now bring it to my CSR, my customer service rep, and my customer service rep within inside the CRM system takes that individual customer engagement. Everybody on board? Let's go to a second example. And by the way, that's just again a good example, I think, as is the second one, of starting by listening, in this particular case, on the left-hand side of the graph to public social communities, filtering the information, in this case TD Bank, for particular areas of information, taking that through the Radian 6 and sending it down to Salesforce.com CRM system, then taking that CRM system and acting upon it, in their case, via the CSR, customer service rep, for an action. We go to a second example, is another company that's in this business Infor, they're another respectable brand, again, as good as any. They're all equal to me. And I wanted to share with you, I worked with them for several months in working on developing the future and kind of imagining the future. And this is also for a bank. I think it's a fun and interesting story. So I'd like to introduce you to a woman called Jenna Smith. And from her Facebook page, I happen to know that she likes the Kids Start Savings. She likes this whole Levi jeans. That's important to her. Baccio perfume, Skechers sneakers, because she has these open on her Facebook page. She's joined an investment bank, or an investment club is actually what it is. And she's joined one of these kids clubs because she's got a couple of children. I know that she wants to buy a home. She's made that clear, and she's kind of looking for a good mortgage. And I know that she dislikes telemarketers on the phone, and she dislikes direct mail, and she owns, and she needs, and she's stayed, etc. And so I have a snapshot of Jenna Smith from the public Facebook page that she's offered us. I also want to mirror that, or merge that, if you will, with back office information that sits in this particular bank's ERP or back office system that has lots of information about how she's banking with us at this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that Facebook information, my back office information, I'm going to merge that with my CRM information. And in my profile, I know things about, in her case, married, 2 children, homeowner. That's in the black. And on the right-hand side of your screen in red is the social profile that I've lifted from the social web and brought that into my CRM package. So I now have a pretty good understanding of Jenna Smith as an individual. I'll go a step further. Not only do I know about Jenna Smith, but I actually know a lot about Jenna Smith's friends, because as you know, friends, like to chat and so forth. So I have a world of influence now of what Jenna Smith likes, with the potential to do social segmentation and social marketing and start to reach a population of Jenna and beyond, of course, assuming her friends have not locked down security on their particular Facebook pages. But it opens up a whole new set of opportunities to go back out and do what is social or customer engagement through social channels. So in this particular case, we created an email. She gets that from this TD, I'm not going to give you the name of the bank, from this particular bank, and it says, "Hi, Jenna, open up a kids savings account. We'll give you $25 for each account. And by the way, in the bottom of the left-hand side, it says there's a mortgage special for you." So she sees this, it's spot on, it's what she's looking for. She naturally responds by calling the support center. And in the support center, the lady answers the phone. They know it's Jenna Smith from a variety of different identifiers. "Hello, Miss Smith, my name is Sarah. Thank you for calling. Can we help you with opening up one of our kids' savings accounts?" She says, "Heck yes. That's actually why I was calling. I did receive an email with this special offer." She says, "Absolutely, you'll receive $25 for opening that account. Would you like to open that now?" And Jenna says, "Well, I actually have 2 kids. Is it okay if I open 2 of them?" And she says, "That's absolutely fine. Just let me take a minute, a few details. And by the way, while I'm doing that, can I interest you in that whole mortgage offer?" So what have we done in this particular case? Once again, we've taken information off the social web. We've filtered it. We've added internal back office information. We've added our CRM information. It's allowed us to now take a customer engagement, in this particular case, through a social channel. And what I think is powerful about the second example, if you noticed, I was cutting across multiple channels. So this is an ability to optimize multiple channel touches with Jenna Smith so that she has what I'd like to refer to as a continuous customer experience across various channels that is leveraging the social attributes, that is allowing her to feel very important by personalizing and treating her with kid gloves, in this particular case, driving, in theory, customer loyalty. I can segment by social channels. All of the tools exist in the processes, which should drive up customer satisfaction, which should allow for better up and cross-sell. So let me share with you a reality check on how the industry is headed and where we are in the industry. We're in the early innings of a new ball game. That's the way I'd like to look at it. There's excellent listening tools, but the problem is they only listen, to a large extent, to public communities. And in a minute, I'm going to share with you why private communities are so important. There are meaningful but limited integrations with some of the CRM packages. So do you have to literally take the social insight off the public and private communities and send them to CRM? No, you can actually have your CRM go fetch them. But the bottom line is those APIs either way are not plentiful. There are several, but not plentiful. Again, in the early innings of a new ballgame. Facebook opens up their API. That's a big boon to the industry. There isn't a CRM vendor in the industry. There isn't a social platform vendor in the industry that is not coming up with APIs to integrate these two sides of the equation. But again, we have to, as the storm comes, we're going to drop the number 1 jib. We're going to put up the number 2, 3, 4, 5 until we get to a storm jib, and we're going to manage the path forward. And if it gets really rough, we're going to reef the main and continue to sail. So here's the problem with those public communities. It's a whole lot more than a Facebook page or a Twitter and so forth. Now, we all know why people gyrate to these social communities, because there's lots of people that hang around on them. But that's irrelevant. What's relevant is, are they the people you want to talk to? Are they your customers? Are they your prospects? Is that where you want to be seen? And one of the problems, if you will, with the Twitter, I mean, one of the benefits is that everybody knows who's hanging out on which social discussion forum or blog. We know a lot about them. But you don't own the data on a Facebook community. You don't have control over when Facebook changes the rules and your data is there or not there. You don't have intimacy on a public community. And it's rarely a destination site where somebody's going to buy or purchase or be influenced by your product or service. And so what best-in-class companies are doing around the world is it's a mixed bag of public and private communities. And for that, I'd like to introduce you to the hub and spoke model that we've been using with many very well-known companies successfully over the last 5 or so years. And here's how it works. What you're doing is you're using the public social communities up top, like Facebook or Twitter, and you use those as a vehicle to promote your brand and get new content out to potential buyers. But what you're really trying to do is to send them from the public site down to your own community or down to your own website where an actual an event can take place. And so what I'm saying is the spokes are the public communities, which you should be active on. But what you do is you're sending them down inside your own website, your own private community, where you can now have intimacy, your own subject matter experts, and so forth. And what that allows you to do now is while you're in my private social community, I'm listening with my devices, I'm scraping or harvesting what you say, I'm putting it inside your CRM profile, I have a customer engagement coming out shortly thereafter. That's state of the art today for your best-in-class global corporations. And the whole concept then is to integrate information from your community into CRM, use your analytical tools from inside CRM, and come back out with meaningful customer engagements. So let me close with a couple of thoughts. I've made somewhat of a statement already that the public social media communities are very important and they're valuable to build brand image and to build or to distribute content. And you need to be there and so forth. Private communities, far more important. And the reason is you control the dialogue, you control the invite. I'm going to give you one example of Kraft's internal private community. You know, I'll show you the numbers and you make your own conclusions. But one thing I do know is, again, when we're in that storm, Dave, and they do happen on the Atlantic, I can confirm that. The one thing you want to do is make sure you're clear on where you're going and why you're going. And the only way to understand that is through metrics. So if anybody would ever launch a community or dabble in Facebook, I just say hogwash. That's just a simple waste of money. So if you're not metricized and you're not measuring what you're trying to do, you'll never get to where you want to go. So I'm not talking about number of people that are visiting your community, and I'm not talking about number of posts or tweets or, you know, the threads. I'm not talking about how quickly one responds to a comment. That's all community stuff. That's the health of the community. I'm talking about business impact. I'm talking about, you know, is it really impacting my sales or avoiding costs and so forth. So on the business side, it's about getting the metrics on the business side right. So let me share with you just a brief story. It's one of our customers. It's Kraft Foods. You know it well because you had Philadelphia cream cheese this morning or you had Planters peanuts at the brunch. So they're well known and a wonderful company out of Glenville, Illinois. Kraft distributes through large wholesalers like Cisco and U.S. Food. You've seen the trucks. They're all over Boston, etc. But Kraft also knows that the ultimate customer is not Cisco or U.S. Food. It's the restaurant or the internal cafeteria to your business or the university that is purchasing that food from Cisco that one could argue is the customer. We call those operators in that business. So Kraft wants to know about the operators. Now you go inside the operator, there's two components of an operator. One is the owner of the restaurant or the food facility. And maybe even more important is the chef in the back of the restaurant that actually chooses what ingredients go in the food that he or she's going to serve. So Kraft understands that the name of the game is not managing the Cisco relationship. That in itself is important. You know, we've got a $50 billion company dealing with a $36 billion company. It's a very interesting relationship. But the name of the game is understanding the operator and going all the way down to the chef. So Kraft created something back in 2008 called Kraft Works. At that time, it was nothing but a printed brochure. It came out of Canada, in fact, and went to a variety of different restaurant owners and chefs that were interested in discounts and recipes and how to run restaurants effectively. It was a mishmash of lots of different things. They then brought it online and made it an email campaign, and they started to sign up considerably more chefs and business owners that were interested in receiving a weekly or a monthly Kraft Foods or Kraft Works email that contained relevant information. We got involved in it probably 2 years ago. We designed the community for Kraft, and here was the thinking. If we create a private community on the Kraft website, you click a button on the Kraft website, chefs talk to chefs about, the most tasty food. We can run contests of how to use Grey Poupon mustard most creatively. We can take the owners and have them come into the same community but through a different door, and here in that community, we're going to talk about how to drive efficiency into running a restaurant, new demographic trends around your restaurant, tastes that are changing in the community. And we can put up subject matter experts from Kraft, and we can put up subject matter experts from the culinary industry, and all of a sudden we start to give chefs talking to chefs and restaurant owners talking to restaurant owners, and we, Kraft, happen to be facilitating those dialogues. So now listen carefully on this one. We scrape the information from this is a work in progress. We scrape the information from the community. It goes into the SAP CRM system that goes out to the sales rep of Kraft Foods. He visits the operator. He says hello to the business owner. He goes right into the chef. They talk shop, and he says, hey, listen, I saw you really enjoyed that Grey Poupon lamb recipe on the media site a couple of nights ago. I want to share a couple of others with you. Now, do you think that chef is going to be intrigued to talk further? And the answer is, of course he will. And so this is the name of the game when you mix transactional with emotional and you drive the future of customer relationships. The last thought I wanted to make sure I was clear on was, why else should you be involved in this social media, public and private community business? And the reason is the search engines are using that inside their algorithm. So if you're not familiar with this, Google searches lots of different things in order to come up with a list of where you fall when you type in something on the Google search bar. More and more of that now, the algorithm is being weighted towards social media. So here's some statistics. Consumers exposed to a brand's social media content are 3 times more likely to search on that brand's name. So the social media presence is important. Oreo cookies is another Kraft product. It's 100 years old. And I think it's in excess of 10 million fans that sit on Facebook. There's a reason why we constantly get stuff out to that site. Consumers exposed to a brand's social media content are almost 2 times more likely to search with the intention of actually making a purchase. So again, for those in sales, fairly important figure. And overall, if you put the two together, brands report about a 50% lift in the click-through rates for those consumers that are exposed to both social media and paid search. So what I'd like to do is end it here. I'd make, again, a couple of small closing comments. If you'd like to further the discussion with the last booth on the right-hand side. But I am very happy to see that my mic reads 5 minutes and 15 seconds left, so I would like to open this to question. I haven't seen anybody have that chance, and Gerhard, I'm not breaking any rules, but If we have some questions from the audience, I would welcome them. Yes?
I heard from the speakers dinner last night that there was some talk about technology versus the arts of selling. And I know that you have examples of a lot of major billion-dollar companies that are leveraging technology and mobile devices. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So you want me to talk about the large companies or the smaller companies?
Well, either one. There seems to be a question about companies adopting technology that empowering their field sales reps basically to do all the things you're talking about and to tap the power of social.
Sure. So just some stories, I guess, is the best way to do this. As somebody alluded to earlier this morning, there isn't a sales rep, guy or gal, that doesn't want to succeed. Our job as executives and as managers is to give them the processes, to give them the coaching and training and communications required, and then to give them the tools that enable them to drive process effectively. I have not seen a company in my 27 years, and there are hundreds of them that we've had the honor of working with, I've not seen a single company succeed that has not shown the sales individual the what's in it for me prior to launching that successful initiative. It's not you that should judge what the salesperson needs. It's the salesperson that should tell you what they need. And that somebody alluded to the fact of listening to the customer. I have a big deal of listening to the sales force. I'm at ExxonMobil. I've been on multiple global tours to listen and watch how global ExxonMobil salespeople sell. I've spent hours of time listening to what they like about the 7-step pipeline process and what they don't like about the 7-step pipeline process. All that came together at an SLT, at a senior leadership team at Exxon, where as a group the decisions were made, we're going to modify some of the processes because the sales reps didn't feel they fit the bill. Now, at a large corporation like that, it took months. At a smaller corporation, that takes, literally weeks to enhance a process. It goes back out to the sales reps for review and approval. That's part of the people buy-in side of change management. And the reps might make some final tweaks and so forth. Now we have an efficient process that the reps have bought into. Now and only now could we ever talk about introducing a technology that drives efficiency into the process that the reps have bought into. But the order is good process, lots of money, time, and effort to get the reps or the sales or the marketing, the social, the customer service community to buy into that good process. And only then would you ever consider introducing a technology, not a generic technology, not a vanilla brand, one that bakes into the technology, the process that your company works with. Let me make an observation. Marketing happened in this town by Ben Shapiro and a few others at Harvard Business School in the 50s. And as you all know, marketing started in the consumer side of the business, and it eventually found its way over to the industrial side and elsewhere. Often, new ideas start in the B2C world or the C world. And that's exactly what happened in social media. It started out in the C world. That doesn't impress me. It doesn't faze me. That doesn't rattle me. Because when I sit at Volvo Construction Company, they make the big earth-moving equipment, and I look at the number of hours that the guys in the cab talk on the social Volvo site to one another about the coolest, newest mover. Or if I look at ExxonMobil's lube engineers, the ones that work in factories and put lubrication into machines, and how much time they spend talking about lube, well, all kinds of things lube-like. And I look at craft food and I look at restaurant owners talking to restaurant owners, what I'm realizing is it's the same need to share information, the same need to know. It's the same need, and our job is to listen carefully, scrape, harvest, bring into CRM, engage customers. So for me, a little bit different, but the principles are the same. My clock is up, the future of customer relationships. Thank you.